Up everybody for cleaning some of this out. Actually, it was literally just empty boxes. That's all it was, empty boxes. Um, some foam, but yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. There's actually a cat house back there that got well, a little smashed up. Actually, my cats do like to come into the workroom, especially Junior, my black cat, my tuxedo cat, and apparently the notifications still run while I'm live. That's fine. I won't be able to answer until I'm done. Um, and right on cue, there's the kitty wanting to be a part of the show always. I can't talk to the camera without Junior wanting to be involved in everything. Oh, he is his own cat. He doesn't like to be picked up. He likes to be pet. He hates it when doors are closed. He likes to be able to go to and from. You can lock him out. He hates it. You can lock him in. He hates it. He'll sit on your lap, but as soon as you try to take control, like pick him up or whatever else like that, he goes crazy. He hates it. So I just let him be, and that's how it is. So we're not here to talk about cats. We're doing another live stream. Check your text. All right. Well, I will check it. By the way, for those of you who are not familiar or not aware yet, that is, I have a new uh, phone system now, new front end for you guys to get a hold of me easier. Genetry, that's 833 Genetry is what that is. I still haven't memorized the actual number itself, but it's pretty straightforward. 833 Genetry and genetrysolar.com, obviously. So I have that finally. It was getting to be an absolute mess, and it was rattling my brain. And I was getting, I'm still getting some Google Voice, some leftover Google Voice messages from people who had the number previously, but and that number is no longer available. I'm in the process of transitioning people over as they message me to that new system. It is a toll-free number. I can text from that number. You can text that number. It's really nice how virtual phone systems have come. And here it is, almost. Well, it's past 6 o'clock. It's quarter after 6. And the great thing is that all that stuff is now in away mode, where the office is literally closed, and it's actually a really good feeling. Um, Will they ever incorporate a generator trigger? Yes, that is on the drawing board. I cannot tell you exactly when that's going to happen, but I'll give you kind of an overview. Okay, this is not set in stone. This is not exactly where they're going to go. Things might change along the way, but you're not the first to ask. In fact, I asked about this a while back when PowerJack sent me 5 of their gas generators. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? It would be nice to have another backup, something that could still run the generator in case battery were to get low, if there's no grid available, things like that. So if that's what you're asking, if they can have generator integration, what PowerJack is doing right now is they are looking at a possibility to be able to control a breaker switch, like, for example, a Generac system. I don't know if you're familiar with a Generac system here in the States, but they basically, for the home, they set up a either natural gas or diesel generator. I believe it's diesel, and they set it up, in your backyard or on a concrete slab somewhere, and when you lose power, it automatically switches to generator. Generator doesn't run all day. It tests, I think, once a week, or you can set it that way, or anything else like that. But the Generac system is basically one of those things where if it detects that the grid has gone down, it will disconnect your grid, because obviously you don't want to feed into the grid, and then it will start the generator. I don't know what order it does it, but anyway, it will switch to generator mode. So you lose power, generator fires up and starts running your house until you get the grid back. And I don't have one, so I don't know exactly how it works. I don't know if there's a seamless transition between the two. um, so that's basically how it works. PowerJack is looking at a system that is similar to that. They're not going to sell generators, so this would be something that basically the inverter would monitor your grid. Grid goes down and it would switch automatically and be able to start a generator, possibly even maybe even look at a similar system what they have now where they got the automatic transfer switch. The point right now is that the inverters such as this inverter here that has the UPS charging function, is that the UPS charging function only works on the plugs that are up in the front. It does not work on the split phase. Now this isn't a split phase inverter here. This is a version 10 6,000 watt unit. But the problem is that, and this was something that I kind of couldn't figure out early, and I kind of brought it up when we discussed it. But when you have power coming into the inverter to charge your batteries and you're running it in a standard mode, it's keeping the batteries charged but still running from the grid, kind of like a pass through almost. And the system detects that you lost power. There's no physical switch there to turn off the grid and then energize your house. There has to be a physical switch there to disconnect the grid. You have to, because what's going to end up happening is the inverter is then going to charge or send power out to the pole when you shouldn't be doing that. So what we, and I don't know if that's just maybe PowerJack doesn't quite understand our grid or how that works or something else like that. But that was a concern of mine, is that if you're trying to energize your panel, you know, when your disconnect or when the grid goes down, yes, it will do it, but you're also sending that electricity out, and that's not what you want. You're going to be powering your neighbor's house and all this. You don't want that to happen. You don't want any of that to happen. And it's likely that if you have one of those new smart meters, it's going to see that you're trying to send electricity out, and they might come knocking on your door. Something like an RV transfer switch. See, the problem is that different brands, different types, different companies, different all this stuff. What PowerJack needs to do is they need to come up with a solution for either their own particular brand, they outsource it to another company, whatever they do, so that you can install this system. You buy it as a kit. Obviously, you would need to have some electrical background or be a certified electrician or whatever else like that, but you would need something that would be compatible with the inverter, compatible with your breaker panel, and be able to manage that. The inverter would manage that for you. And so it's not at forefront of their priority right now. It's definitely on the drawing board for a future version to be able to do something like that. So I couldn't tell you when they were gonna, really get serious about putting that feature in. I'm really not 100% sure, but it is going to be something eventually. Now, some of the inverters have a um, like Ames, for example, Yain. They've got that connection on the front for pumps dedicated, like water pumps or whatever. I've been asked about that too, if PowerJack is ever going to do something like that, and I have not heard back from them. I don't know. It's kind of up in the air about that right now. But I to be honest with you, I don't really understand that not generator, but that 240 motor output. I don't know if it's a different leg on the transformer, maybe that's dedicated. I honestly don't know. I don't have an Ames or a Yayan inverter to be able to actually, look at it and find out. Maybe one of you out there does, and you can send me pictures or information. I'd love to be able to see that. I have been asked about that if PowerJack is ever going to add something like that, and I don't know if they actually ever will. I'm not sure. Maybe in a future version. I'm not sure, but I do know that their main goal for uh, up and coming versions. How you doing, Phil? Sorry, try to get these comments back. Um, eh, da, 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 da. Okay, whatever. So the um, the versions moving forward, I know that they are basically they're trying to fix the weaknesses of the inverters, which we were having a big problem for a while there where MOSFETs were just going, and 9 out of 10 times it had to do with the charging function. It was um, the FETs either weren't switching properly or not at the same time, or something was going on. They were not synchronized, whatever, and so it was causing them to burn out. And that is something that I have noticed with the inverters that don't have charging. I've noticed that the failure of the MOSFETs is far less likely. So I'm not, I'm not really sure what else they're really looking at feature wise. I don't know. We are obviously working on the LCD screen, the big LCD screen project, which of course I don't have one handy here on my desk, but you guys already know about it. The big LCD screen project that we have that we're working on, where I thought I had one around here, but I guess I moved it somewhere. But anyway, I've got one on the shelf. But that big LCD screen project is the big feature that hopefully will come to all inverters. But the great thing is that if you have a version 7, 8, 9, or 10 inverter, and even the older ones, see, I haven't tested it in the older units, the aluminum units, the old torpedo style. I haven't tested it in that yet, but there's a good possibility that they will be compatible with those as well. As long as it has an LCD screen and it can receive 12 volts from the charger board, which these charger boards here have a 12 volt transformer on them to energize the LCD screen, and my cat is scratching at something and is being weird. But uh, okay, cool. Um, as long as you can get 12 volts to the LCD screen, it will actually power. Yes, no, they're not. So I know what you're talking about. Those are not split phase. They're mainly there to step up or step down. They're converters from, so that if you're traveling abroad, which to be honest, I don't know who would want to carry something that big with them. If you're going from the States to Europe or wherever that doesn't have North American split phase, um, I'm not really sure why would you want to carry around one of those big transformers unless you had a lot that you were trying to power. Um, but no, they're not split phase. They basically just plug into the wall, be it a European outlet or a American outlet, and they'll either convert up or convert down depending on which way you need to go. And that's it. That's all they do. Uh, and they're not actually split phase. So, yeah, that's not going to help you there. But I don't know what else I was going on. Oh yeah, the charger board. So anyway, we're hoping that the charger boards, or excuse me, the LCD screens, we're still in the final tweaks. Oh, something in my eye. We're still in the final tweaks of that right now, and I'm hoping to get one of these installed here, especially on my own inverter. Make sure that it works great. Um, Could a power jack inverter be on a boat? Yes, it can. However, there is a problem. The boat, you're susceptible to moisture, and I've seen warranties come in here a couple of times from people who basically live on their boats, which is cool, by the way. I think that's pretty neat to be able to do that. Um, and unfortunately, because of the moisture that's in the air with the water splash and all that other stuff, it tends to. I've seen the insides. Obviously, I've had to work on these inverters and replace them. I've seen the insides of them, and they've been exposed to water. You'll see rust building up on the connections back here. You'll see corrosion starting with all of the solder points on the boards, and eventually it will fail. Um, they will run on boats, but again, you would have to have them in an area that would be pretty well sealed away from the moisture, the humidity levels, and so on being around the water, just because they um, uh, might be exposed to water. Let's see. No, the control board is. Hang on a second. Control board. I have one here that's kind of parted out a little bit that I was repairing. So minus, not this board here, but this board here is the control board. This is identical from the 1500 watt low frequency all the way up to the 15,000 watt low frequency inverters. This is just the brains of the inverter, okay? Now, this charger board here that's on this side here, that is different. The charger board for a 1500 watt, a 2000 watt, and a 3000 watt are really much more simple. They don't have relays because they don't have charging. And they're not split phase, so they only have one cap for filtering. They're much simpler for this, than this. So those are specific. You need to get a specific replacement. But as far as these go, these are compatible with all low frequency inverters. In fact, it is possible to upgrade from an older version to a newer one if you have an older inverter. I've had some limited success with that. I've had some people who it's worked flawlessly and they get all the version 9 perks or version 10 perks. Actually, it's version 9 and 10 are the same. They get all the version 9 and 10 perks and they love it and everything works fine. It requires replacing the MOSFETs the MOS boards, and then replacing the low frequency driver, which is included usually with the control board, as well as the front control panel, which is on the front here because it is different, and so it's different wiring. But other than that, everything else is compatible. And yes, limited success. For some reason, it works great for some people, and others, it just, I don't know why. I don't know if it's, they're not hooking something up right or what. But so yeah, it does work because in version 9.8.7.5, I think, the main boards are all the same. They're identical. Of course, I didn't prepare for this live stream, I guess. There's a main board. This is your DC to AC converter. This is your main board. This is what PowerJack calls a main board. These have not changed until version 10, which you'll see sitting right behind me. This is version 10. In an aluminum case, not very big. In fact, this transformer that you're seeing right here, this is an AS4 transformer. It is a split phase transformer. This thing barely fits inside this inverter. There's probably, I don't know, maybe between the two sides, there's maybe 3/4 of an inch of room at most. So these big boy transformers here, these are the ones to get if you're looking at upgrading, an older unit or making the biggest transformer you can get in there. For the old aluminum torpedo styles, that one would work. But anything beyond that, AS5, AS6, AS9, those are way too big. Those go in the bigger chassis inverters. So that obviously wouldn't work for you. Um, and I really like these AS4 transformers. They were introduced in version 9, and I really do like them. They're very heavy, they're very compact as far as their output is concerned. And this one here and one other one is the only time I've ever actually had a return on these inverters. And this is just a return, not a failure. This inverter works just fine. I actually use it for testing because this is one of only two of these brand new version 10 boards that I actually have, these main boards. So yeah, like I said, I've got two of these, and so I keep this one here to study mainly and kind of compare as far as how it's hooked up and things like that, which really didn't really change all too much. But I haven't had to replace MOS boards at all ever in these. Obviously, I've only gotten 2 units and they work flawlessly. So I don't know what the failure rate is of these particular inverters. I have no idea. PowerJack did design a brand new main board for this. It is not compatible with the older ones. However, if you were to upgrade the entire system, then it would be, but you might as well just buy a whole new inverter. If you had a version 9 inverter and for some reason you really wanted this new main board, it would be compatible. But you got to check the voltage of the transformer itself. PowerJack is going to a 130/130 split phase. They introduced that in version 10, and they started doing it for their version 9 smaller inverters, like that 1500 watt that I tested that has a 130/130. And well, actually, it's just 130. It's not split phase, but it's a 130. It's 130 volt transformer. That's what it's rated for. And then the CPU manages voltage, the output voltage. So you can get whatever AC out you want within its specifications by adjusting that dial. But PowerJack moved to a split phase uniform design. This is a 130/130 here. So one of the complaints that a lot of people were having, I was having myself, especially when I was first getting a test unit from PowerJack, is that L1 could be as much as 10 volts higher than L2. And I know you guys are familiar with that because I've heard the concerns and complaints. And so what PowerJack did was they designed a transformer that it's designed for an output of 130 volts per half phase. It seems high, I understand that, but the CPU brings that down. So the whole point in that is that it's got a little bit more voltage to work with, so that if the inverter itself were to start to bog down when you're starting to really load on it, you're not going to see dips down to 105 volts or something else like that. That was obviously your battery bank is going to be a significant portion of why you have a voltage dip, but the one of the big problems was that they really had to crank the voltage up on the boards to try to compensate for that, and it was causing some problems. So they kind of over-engineered the transformer, or they brought up the voltage higher so that they can just manage it through CPU, and you're likely going to be using 10, 20, or 50% of the rated load, so that's going to bring it down, but you'll still be at a level that's closer to your grid. That's the whole point. My problem that I was having when I got my very first prototype from PowerJack 2 years ago was that my battery backup that was in the bedroom, which is at the far end of the house, it was completely opposite end of the house to the inverter, that was reading 108 volts on that battery bank, that battery backup. So it was beeping at me nonstop, and it was really annoying. Oh, hi Roger, how you doing? Happy to see you on here. Hang on a second, I'll answer your question. The problem that I was having was that the voltage was too low at the opposite end, and it really wasn't too much of a difference because you're running in high AC voltage, 110, 115 volts. But when I was running things like, for example, a window air conditioner, the voltage would drop too far. It would sag too much with the transformers that they were using. So they kind of they built these different transformers that are a little bit higher voltage, but there was still an uneven L1 and L2, and so they ended up fixing that in this design, the AS10, which hasn't been launched yet or released yet, is a 130, and it is a transformer that is right up against, when it's installed in an inverter, it's going to be right up against the maximum weight limit that UPS will deliver. That tells you anything, which is 150 pounds. Otherwise, it needs to be freighted. So these new AS10 transformer inverters, they're going to weigh right at 150 pounds. That's a considerable jump from 124 pounds now for the version 9 inverters that they're using now. And actually, the AS 6.5 transformer inverters weighed right around 100 pounds. So, yeah, a considerable jump. Now, I don't know, I don't have a date for that at all. Um, the uh, the inverter is kind of in the works. I guess I can indulge you with some information. It is going to be what they call a full power unit, and it's going to be expensive because that transformer by itself is going to be really expensive. Um, but they're trying to squeeze out as much as they possibly can with these inverters and still be able to ship them via UPS domestic ground, which is 150 pounds. That's their limit. So they're going to be, flirting with that limit now, with some of these inverters that they're going to be testing to see if, it's going to be a big market penetration or not. Because right now, Ames and Yan, they're big units. They're 12K and they're 15K units, weigh over 150 pounds, so they have to be freighted, to your door, and that obviously costs money. Um, so PowerJack has tried to stay under that so they can still ship it domestically, ground. And uh, hey, Steve, how you doing? But anyway, I think I got off on a tangent. That's what I do. It's a habit. So yeah. Anyway, so the whole change of everything going on was to try to equal L1 and L2, or equalize them, because obviously your grid power, they're going to be pretty close together. So one of the annoying things when you're adjusting your inverter is that you can get L2 to 120 volts, and PowerJack actually, when you run them in series, in the North American split phase market, you actually have 120, 120 if it's perfect, and things can vary between 110 and 125, 128, somewhere around there. But what was happening is you would have 120 and then you would have 130, or 115 and 125. And then when you add the two together, you're getting 245 or 250 or something else like that if you needed to run it in series. And it just it wasn't working very well for some people, because half of your stuff in your house was going to be running at 125 volts or 128 volts, and the other half of your stuff is going to run maybe at 118 or 116 or something else like that. So that had to be addressed, and they finally did address it with these new transformers. If you don't know if you've got one of those, you just read the label and it'll say 130, 130. If it does say that, then you have as close to equal as possible. I know on this particular inverter it was off by about a volt. I mean, that I can accept, but so much better balanced. Now, the question that was coming up here, let's see. Roger, you had a question that puts out just 110, so you don't want split phase. Yes, they do. if you if you're blah 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 blah. What am I thinking here? I'm looking around for an inverter. I've got so many inverters around here. I'm looking around for an inverter, but power jack, the AS1, and AS2 transformers. I got it on the wall here. Yes, are 110 volts. If you're looking for high output, then you could run two of those in parallel, and that would give you more output. Power jack, you if you're looking for 110 volts, I don't see why you couldn't take a large chassis, like probably the one you see back there, one of the big inverters, or even the mini big, what I call it, a mini big inverters, the 10K and 9K inverters. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to take a long main board, one of the long ones, the main boards, which is about twice the size of this thing, and run two AS2 transformers in parallel to give you high output. It would be 110 volts, but it would be high output. The key is to make sure that the charger board is programmed for it, because right now the charger boards, I'm looking around for stuff because a lot of times I have parts that are just sitting underneath my bench, and that doesn't seem to be the case now. I don't know why I'm cleaning stuff up just for you guys, but uh, the the charger boards, for the big units, you would probably just use one of these here, one of these smaller charger boards, since you're not charging, and it should be adequate enough. Um, because unfortunately, with the larger charger boards, it's got the ribbon cable that runs from it and runs to the CPU, and it's programmed for split phase. So that would possibly be an issue. I would have to look to see if that is something that we could do, if that's what you're asking. I've done all sorts of conversions and things and whatever. In fact, I have a project. You guys are going to laugh. I am literally going to take a 1500 watt. Now that's the baby one. That's the little itty bitty baby main board. And I'm going to throw this transformer, this particular transformer here. Actually, it's an AS4, but it's 12 volts. It's a 12 volt AS4, not a 24 volt. I'm going to throw, so it's out of a power tank unit. I'm going to hook that up to the main board. I'm going to reprogram the CPU to eliminate all the safety features on it all. So no temperature, no overload protection, nothing. And so it's going to be as blind as a bat. And I'm going to crank that main board as hard as I can. And I do mean as hard as I can. I'm gonna throw everything I can at it. I'm gonna try to run two air conditioners at the same time, my space heaters, all this other stuff. I'm gonna crank on it as much as I can. Why? Well, it's gonna be fun for me. That is, I'll have my fire extinguisher handy because I know it's going to explode. I know that. There's no doubt about that. There's no way that it's going to be able to handle it because the CPU isn't going to see that there's a problem. But I want to see what the true limits of those small mainboards are, because I'm 100% convinced, and you guys, some of you who may have seen my test video, when I was testing some things around the house and whatever with that inverter, that 1500 watt inverter, that I did not truly honestly believe that that main board was a problem at all. And I still think that it'll handle, you know, maybe 4 kilowatts, 4 kilowatts, that little thing. I honestly do. See, so I want to see where the limits are of that main board. I really do, because I think this is just my opinion, okay? So this, I don't speak for PowerJack on this. This is just my opinion. But I think that they're responding to the MOSFET failures by adding more MOSFETs. And I don't think, to be honest, that is the the solution to the problem. It's not going to hurt anything. If you need a Make Sky Blue controller, Sean Buckner will be able to hook you up for a good price. I'm personally not going to be selling them, but Sean Buckner, if you need his information, I can get that for you. He does have a website. I think it's makeskyblueusa.com, maybe something like that. I can't remember exactly. Well, I'll have to get a hold of him to get you that information. I do need to link that in my videos now, because I've been more than happy with my Make Sky Blue controllers. But anyway, um, the I don't know where I was at with the main boards. Oh, PowerJack's response was to double up on the FETs. And doubling up on the FETs is going to, of course, increase your output, but uh, the output at the main board, but I think they're more than adequate the way that they were before. That's just my opinion. That's not because these FETs here that are on here, they're 180 amps each. 180 amps. And we have 6, 12. This is the AC side, so it's split in half. On the DC side, you've got 24 FETs. 24! 180 amps at 24 volts. You do the math. Now, of course, in reality, it's never going to get to that maximum where the FETs are literally at their max because you need really good cooling to be able to cool these off. That's their theoretical maximum. That's from spec sheets. That's the MOSFETs are actually rated to that point. That's with adequate cooling, that kind of stuff. In reality, maybe let's just say 150 amps. You're still looking at 2,000 amps here in a main board. I And the problem is that when one FET goes, so if there's a problem with one FET, it usually takes the rest of them out. Usually. Most all of the failures that I see, and I just did a video on this not that long ago. I think I still have. Hang on a second. I'm just out of frame. No, I don't have it. Sorry. Most of the failures that I see with FETs that are shorted or exploded, they all burn up. They all just, and sometimes when you look at them, you say, oh, well, that FET must be fine. But really, it's split from the case. So once you get it off and you can actually physically split it in half, that will end up happening. And I'm trying to watch, no. I'm trying to watch the comments. They disappear so fast. But so I don't think the main boards are the problem. I'm convinced that it's the transformer that's the problem. And this is where my old box cutter went. Dang it. I have 2 of them now because I couldn't find this, and apparently I set it right here. Ugh. Anyways, so the transformer, I'm 100% convinced it's the bottleneck. Another reason that I'm convinced it's the bottleneck is because this is just one other reason. I was doing the testing on that transformer in that 1500 watt unit. Almost all the heat was in that transformer. Almost all of it. The FETs were warm, of course, but they weren't hot. They were nowhere near 180 degrees. They were nowhere near 150 degrees. It wasn't even close to that. So I honestly don't think that that's a problem. Also, another reason I'm convinced of that too is that with the big 15K inverters that I put together, when I put a high-speed fan, and I've tested this myself with my own inverter. I've got a version 9 that's sitting in the laundry room where my breaker panel is. You guys have seen it. I've got a version 9 sitting there. I've got a high-speed 48-volt fan sitting right above that transformer. I delidded the transformer, no bolt, no pad, no nothing. Delidded the transformer, got that fan sitting right over the top of it, okay? When I crank on that inverter, and I don't mean really crank on it like 15K, I don't usually go above 5 or 6K at best. But when I'm hitting that inverter hard, what I consider is hard, um, the the air, this is not scientific. This is just from observation and from using my thermal camera. The air that's coming out of the sides of the inverter is warm, but coming right off the top of that inverter where that fan's at, it's much, much warmer. Pull the lid off, look at it. Transformer is hot. MOSFETs are not. Okay. So uh, the bottleneck, I'm sure, is this transformer. Um, and yes, Steve, you do have a good point. Okay. It all comes down to how PowerJack rates their inverters. I know how everybody feels about it, especially in the States. I know. I'm not trying to hide anything or dilute it or sugarcoat it in any way. PowerJack rates their inverters based on absolute maximums. When can we, at what point does the inverter shut down when we try to hit that point? Okay? That's how they rate it. So, this 6 kilowatt inverter, which actually, you know what, when you think about it, this is actually an 8 kilowatt inverter right here previously, and they derated it. They didn't change anything in here. They just derated it to 6,000 watts. It's not a lot, but it's still a fourth that they derated it. And it's the same as the 8,000 watt inverter that I have sitting down there. And so they did derate it. This is a 6,000 watt inverter. The general rule or consistent rule of thumb with everyone who owns a PowerJack inverter or has had experience with them is that 1/2 of the rated load is what you get continuous. Some get a little bit less, some get a little bit more. So in theory, this inverter here should be able to handle continuous 3,000 watts all day, all night. However, I know that it's going to closer to 4,000 watts because they previously put AS3 transformers in this, which were smaller. These are bigger transformers. These are actually bigger transformers. Yes, they're not this big of a transformer, but they are as big as they can squeeze in this chassis. So it is improvements over the 8,000 watt, the older 8,000 watt units. Will it do 6,000 watts continuous? Yes. Yes. But for how long? That's the thing. How long can it do it before it shuts down? So it is a marketing thing, okay? I have no decisions on this. In fact, I hate to take the credit. Actually, you know what? I'll take the credit. I don't care. Really early on, I was really pushing them because I kept saying to them over and over again, derate these a little bit or more. But you got to derate them. Don't derate them by 50 watts. Take 1,000 watts off. Take 2,000 watts off. Whatever you're going to do, because you're still getting a good value, even if it's versus 8,000 watts or 6,000 watts, you're still getting a good value for the same exact price. People are still going to buy the inverters, even if it says 4,000 watts on it, split phase, because you're still getting a good value. So they eventually listened, and there was a big push. The 5,000, this is all version 10. This is not version 9 or 8. Unless it's a power tank unit, that's a completely different situation. This is basically a power tank unit right here that was introduced last year. Because the power tank units have the AS4 transformers in them, and they're 5,000 watts. They're rated to 5,000 full-time continuous watts. I have actually tested this because when I got my very first power tank unit before they were even released to the public, I was really wanting to test this. I had to test this because I wanted to be absolutely sure that he wasn't, not he, but the company, because, I talked with their engineers and I talked with Jack, but, Jack was telling me about this new full-time 5,000 watt inverter that was, coming down the pipeline. And I was obviously skeptical. I mean, of course I'm going to be skeptical. It's a 5,000 watt unit that is, basically improved and upgraded from an 8,000 watt power jack unit. And I tested it, and I was actually surprised. I was doing 4,500 kilowatts, 4,500 watts on the inverter, and it ran for quite a long time before I shut it down. Before I started worrying about my battery, and I was actually shocked that it was able to do it. How long? Maybe an hour or two, I don't know, or indefinitely. My issue right now is my battery bank is just too small to do extended loads. I'm able to extend load, test 1,500 watt inverters, 2,000 watt, 3,000 watt. But as far as anything beyond that, when I try to really push it, that's a lot of amps going through my battery bank, the cables and so on. I've got 2-watt cable that's running as interconnects, 2-watt to the inverter. I'd be more comfortable with 4-watt. That would double my amperage. And the batteries themselves, they're deep cycle batteries, but they're only rated to a maximum of 30 amps per hour under fast charge or discharge conditions. They can do short circuit, whatever. But anyway, the point is I invested a lot of money in these batteries. I don't want to ruin them. I would love for somebody to be able to donate me a battery bank. That would be awesome. I've contacted about 10 different companies. To be honest, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have contacted about 10 different companies who make whole house lithium iron batteries. They're big, giant, 300-pound power wall type things. They're huge. And of course, you can run them in series or parallel or however you want to do it. They have their own battery management system, etc. They cost $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. They're expensive, obviously, but they're like 500 or 1,000 amp hours lithium iron, so you don't have. But anyway, the point is that I've reached out to companies to ask for samples, to ask for, hey, I'll test this, I'll do an honest review, and if you want it back, I'll send it back. You send me the return postage, I'll send it back to you. I don't have a problem with that. I don't need to keep everything that I test. And so I have reached out and I received one answer from someone who basically said that they only do samples for corporations, which makes sense. It's a lot of money, but when we move into lithium iron, I wanted to kind of give you guys more of an idea of what it's like, what the output's like, the testing and things like that. So I was hoping to be able to have something that I could actually really use, not just a small, because PowerJack sent me that small blue 4-cell 12-volt battery, and it's fine, but again, it's limited. I have more power in my AGM batteries than I do in that cell, obviously. So I can only run things for so long before it would shut down. So I am looking to get some significant sample that I can mess with, test, and I can send it back. But so far, I haven't received anything back from anyone. And I understand. I'm a smaller channel. I get it. I'm not, some big million subscriber channel that they're going to, be able to make a ton of money off of in marketing. But still, the channel is growing, and I do get a lot of views. So it would be kind of cool to have something like that. But anyways, what was this is my problem, especially as it starts getting later. Start going all over the place. Forklift batteries, yes. The problem with forklift batteries, can't have them inside the house. And at least the only forklift batteries I know of, I could be wrong, please let me know if I am wrong, but they're all wet cell forklift batteries. You got to fill them with water. They emit hydrogen, which means I would have to have them out in the garage, and I don't want the stuff out in the garage. I want the stuff in here where it's more temperature controlled, because we get cold winters here. I mean, I don't want those batteries to, the water in the batteries to possibly freeze. I know that's not a super serious issue, but it is a possibility. And I don't like the idea of having to fill the batteries. I know they're cheap. I know they're powerful. But at the same time, I need to keep everything indoors, um, temperature controlled, close to my breaker panel, that kind of stuff for my situation. Down the road, maybe that'll change. Danielle and I are obviously looking at land and building a house and things like that. Maybe that'll change. I would love, absolutely love to be able to get lithium iron batteries, but I don't know if I'll ever be able to. I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford them. I'm not looking to go broke just to save on electricity, which, to be honest, if you're going off the grid, you're not doing it to save electricity. But I don't want to, spend $40,000 or $50,000 on a battery bank and something that I don't honestly need. Um, Forklift batteries are cheap. I know you can get them reconditioned or used. I understand that. Um, but yeah, so lots of options out there. Right now, this house that I'm in right now, I'm not going to be living here forever. I'm hoping in a couple of years, gone. Building our own house, land, things like that. So I don't want to get some big, huge battery bank and try to squeeze it into the laundry room when it's just going to get moved anyway. Now, I can tell you that um, the representative who works for Make Sky Blue here in the States out of Oklahoma, Sean Buckner, he builds battery bank systems. And, he had talked to me, made a proposal about building a nice battery bank setup based on my needs. My needs personally are kind of small, but you're adding a family. My future wife loves to run the dryer. I prefer air dry because I'm cheap, and she can't go without the dryer. So you're talking about a 4.5, 5 kilowatts per hour. That is per load, and a typical load is about an hour. So you're draining 5 kilowatts out of that battery bank. That's some serious amps, and I don't need to be shutting the house down just to run a load of laundry. So we put together a battery bank that'll give us 4 loads of laundry per day, and still be able to run other things in the house at the same time. So in an extended period where we've got cloudy days or something else like that, then um, you know, hopefully we don't have any problems. I hope we'll have to see. I'm gonna bank on using my solar to run the dryer. I'm hoping to have at least 15 kilowatts of solar out there, and yeah, I know, no split phase. I know, sucks. Anyways, so I don't know what else I have to talk about. I'm just kind of looking at the comments as they come down. I see all of them, sometimes briefly, but you guys need to get some videos for me, please. Show me your setups. I like watching this stuff. I really do. I would much rather watch you guys show me your system, your solar, your wind, your batteries, your inverters. I don't care what brand of inverter you have. It's all the same to me. It's off the grid. I want to be able to see that kind of stuff. I want to see your stuff. I would much rather watch your videos of your setup and be interested in that than watch a movie or something while I'm working on repairing inverters or whatever. I love to be able to see that stuff. It's inspirational, it's motivational. If you have a water collection system, show it to me. I want to see it. How do you filter your water? Reverse osmosis? What all do you do as far as physical filters, chemical filters, all that stuff? How much do you collect a year? Those kind of things. What about food, growing? Maintaining yourself. You got livestock? Do you have an acre of green beans? I mean, what all do you have? I want to see it. Show me, please. Show me what you've got, because I would love to be able to look at all that stuff. I want to see true homesteaders, and I want to see those who have just 100-watt solar panel sitting out on their deck or something else like that, and it runs your TV or something else like that. Show it. I want to see it. I honestly do. That stuff is not boring to me. I'm really fascinated with it, and I'm searching through some of the YouTube videos, there's not really a lot of interesting content out there, to be honest. When it comes to this kind of stuff, it's sad, but it's the way that it is. So, uh, yeah. So get me some videos and send me a link. All you have to do is comment on this video or any of my other videos. Um, yeah, the filtering is all responsible within this charger board here, and this inverter is a perfect example that neutral L2 go through this charger board here, L1, which is right here, this red wire off the transformer, goes straight to the glass fuse. Power jack is changing that. I'm hoping that they will provide me with new charger boards to send to you guys. I don't know, what kind of cost that's going to be involved or anything else like that. The charger board will be compatible, and the only other thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to move this red wire that comes off the transformer. You're going to have to move that with a ring connector to the charger board, and then your yellow wire here will go straight to the front where N was formerly. So you got L1, N, and L2 on the front. Problem solved. It's not the most ideal. If you're not comfortable doing that, you can send your inverter to me, and I'll do that. Um, it's something that as soon as I get a new charger board, then I will, I will update and show you guys how it works. But so yeah, this can be converted to split phase as it was previously. It is a split phase transformer. This control board is compatible with split phase. This main board is compatible with split phase. Okay? The only thing that they changed was this charger board and how it's wired to the front panel, which is simply moving two wires. Yes, you'll have to put a ring connector on the end of the red wire in order to be able to connect it to the charger board. But again, if you're not comfortable doing anything like that, I can obviously do it for you guys. So, yeah, what else do we want to talk about? I've been online for almost an hour now. It's amazing how fast time flies when you're having fun. Trying to look at these comments here. Let's see here. 500-watt solar, 500-watt wind turbine. Yes, please. One thing that I don't see too often enough is wind power. Excuse me. Eventually, when we move to our homestead, that might be Danielle there, I'm not sure. Eventually, when we move to our homestead, I will be adding wind into the mix. Some people say it's not good, too much money, doesn't work, etc., etc. I get it, I understand. I want to add it. I want to add it as another way to generate electricity, even if it costs more money than I'll make back on it. I'm not worried about that. Being off the grid to me isn't strictly about saving money on my electric bill, because it's way cheaper to stay on the grid. It's way cheaper to stay on the grid, even if you live in the worst, the highest per kilowatt areas in the U.S. Being off the grid is much more expensive. You got the batteries, inverters, cables, wires, panels, turbines, controllers. There's a lot there. You'll never make it back on the amount of money that you save unless you have grid tie and you're selling back your excess electricity. So being off the grid is not about saving money. And to be honest, when I first got into this, oh my Lord, am I embarrassed at some of the stuff that I really had high hopes and wrong ideas about all this stuff. I had that little grid tie inverter way back when I lived at that apartment, and I would watch the meter because it was an old analog spin meter. I would actually watch it go backwards. The problem was is it had a safety clutch in it. So the safety clutch, while the wheel itself would spin backwards, it wouldn't actually move the numbers back. It was a forward only. But let's say that I was generating, which sometimes I was putting 150 watts into the walls. If I was generating 150 watts into the walls and I was using a 100-watt light bulb, I would have a surplus of 50 watts. I wouldn't get paid for that 50 watts. It wouldn't bring my bill down, but it just meant that the excess electricity that I had could be used for other things in a grid type fashion. They call them gorilla inverters. And yeah, no, you need a scale like you couldn't believe. Um, uh, the that little grid tie inverter was not going to save me any money by any means. But what I would do is during the daytime, when my battery at the time, one battery was fully charged and floating, is I would grid tie back into the apartment complex basically, and the meter would spin backwards, and it would be enough to cover the stuff that was running like clocks and night lights and whatever. Yes, it doesn't even add up to jack, but um, it would zero me out until I hit about 150 watts or the sun started really going down, things like that. But um, it was, looking back, it's just funny how I approach things because I was learning about all this stuff. I was learning what I needed to get and things like that, and thought that I would never have a electric bill ever again. I really did think this stuff. I'm serious. Because I didn't spend much time really trying to educate myself. I just would, I would just a quick Google search on saving money on your electric bill, and then come up with a couple articles on a grid tie inverter. So then I sourced all my stuff around a grid tie inverter, went to Amazon and bought $100 grid tie inverter. I looked for the best solar batteries, bought a VMAX solar battery, um, looked for the cheapest but most efficient charge controller, went to Flex Charge for their 99.99 efficient PWM charge controllers, and you know what? Had a couple of panels out on the back deck of the apartment complex. It worked well, but it definitely didn't save me the money that I thought it was going to save. Da, 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 yeah. Hey, Sean's there. Hey, buddy. It's good to see you. Yes, I've got some people who want some charge controllers. So make sure if you need a Make Sky Blue charge controller, go with Sean Buckner. He can get you deals and he services these things. Hang on a second. One of my backdrops for my videos, when I'm recording videos, if I can reach it, my desk is in the way, my bench. I'm still here. Still here. This beautiful thing right here, right there. There is. Get one of these. See what that says there? Version 119. Wi-Fi. It's awesome. Make Sky Blue. Now, as a disclaimer, I did buy this myself, so I can confirm that. I bought this with my own money, so this is not a product placement thing. This is my own money, but I've been so happy with my controllers that what can I say? There's nothing I can really say. I've been super happy with what I thought was going to be a cheap rip-off type controller, a cheap MPPT charge controller. And I've got these two that are charging my battery banks, and they're not even close to their limits. So, I love them. I really do. It's the best investment that I ever made. as a disclaimer, the first two that I got, that you guys saw in my videos, the first two were actually given to me. So they were sample units, but I liked them enough to get this 119 here. It's not in the box, but I keep the box as a kind of a cool backdrop, I guess. Next Guy Blue should be paying me for this, right? All this free advertisement. But seriously, you look at charge controllers, MPPT charge controllers, and you've got the midnight solar stuff. They're really expensive. You're talking like $800 for a midnight solar, and that was initially where I was going to be going with these. And Sean suggested to me, he's like, hey, you got this Make Sky Blue controller. You got to give it a shot. So he sent me a couple of them. I hooked them up, and I've been more than happy. I don't even come close to their rated limit. I don't come close to their 60 amp rated limit because my array is split in half. And at 48 volts, I'm only doing about 25, 30 amps at most per charge controller. So yeah, been more than happy. But anyway, so Sean is online right now. He'll hook you up if you're looking for a good charge controller. And like I said, I've been more than happy with these things. More than happy. And I have a whole bunch of footage of me hooking this thing up and testing it and running it. I just have it, it's like 6 hours worth of all this footage all around, and it's a lot to have to puzzle piece together. So yes, I do have that. I need to get that done. I've been so busy with everything else, busy with some other projects that I'm doing. But I also need to get these on my website, or at least link on my website so that I can link it to Sean's website so that you guys can get your charge controllers there. Trust me when I say these things are way better than I thought they were going to be. I honestly was incredibly skeptical. It sounds like an infomercial. I get it. But these charge controllers just absolutely blew me away as far as their performance. And at first I thought they were just going to not do anything for me at all. I honestly did. I was thinking that I was going to have to go back to my PWM or buy one of those Midnight Solar. And I don't want to make it sound like the Midnight Solar charge controllers are bad. They're not. They're awesome charge controllers. They really are. But they're expensive. Okay, so, but they're really, really good. And yeah, some of you who are on here also have your Make Sky Blue controllers, kind of voicing your opinions of them, and I definitely appreciate that. I know Sean appreciates that as well. So cool, yeah, version 119, and those are not compatible. You can't upgrade from a 117 to 119 in the same unit because these new ones have the Wi-Fi, so it's a different board. But if you buy one new, means you don't have one, is that you buy a new one, get that 119, version 119. It comes with the Wi-Fi, which is really cool because you can monitor your system away from home, and that is the best part. That is where I absolutely love to be able to do that. Now, not all of you have access to good internet, so I understand that might not be a big deal for you, in which case just get a version 118 and save a little bit of money. That's up to you. But yeah, so anyway, this is what it'll look like. It'll come in this exact box right here, just like this. And cool. So see Sean Buckner for that, to help you guys out with that. And what else do we want to talk about? I'm glad that he came online because I didn't know if he actually watched any of my live streams. I've got everything apart right now. Cleaning out the inverter, testing the new LCD screen, so I had to get the inverter off the bench anyway, or I mean off the shelf. And it was time to retorque stuff because you're supposed to retorque everything at least once a year. I do everything every 6 months. Retorque my all my connections to make sure that they're good. A couple years back, I had a problem with one connection that came loose, caused some issues. So I like to just go through and make sure everything's good, take everything apart, check the voltage of the batteries individually, make sure they're still well balanced, and stuff like that. That's geeky, nerdy stuff that I just like to do myself. So I've got everything apart right now. we had a nice day today, so I wish I was off the grid, but it's been warm enough where I haven't had to run the furnace really, so I've been pretty good there. When I don't have the kids, I don't run the furnace. It could be 20 below in the house, and I'll have a water dripping in all the faucets. I don't care because I'm cheap. But when the kids are here, the temperature goes up. You know, that's just the way that it is. I won't let my kids suffer through my stinginess. But so let's see here. Oops. I'm trying to get. Yep. Oh yeah. So he's David. You got a good point. There's 60 amps total, and that's what these are. It's the 60 amps, but yes, it's 60 amps total regardless of voltage. Obviously you can get more amps with higher volts, so if you do have a 12-volt system, then you would obviously have far fewer watts. Okay, so yeah, you're right, that's a good point. I should have brought that up. In fact, I don't think I even brought that up in any of the footage that I had, so that's a good point. I should probably add some subtitles to that, to make sure, because I was basing it on my 48-volt system. And I think, Sean, if you could chime in, I think you're running like 100 volts or 100 and how many volts are you running? I can't remember what you're running exactly. If you guys see his system, he's got a crazy amount of solar panels, charge controllers. He's got a beautiful Yayan inverter, a pure sine wave inverter. It's a 15 kilowatt inverter, right? I think 12 or 15. I can't remember. It's a black inverter. It's beautiful. And no, no, no. Come on in here. Seriously, I want everybody to get in here. This is fun. It's like chatting in a room, I guess. But 142 volts DC on these charge controllers. You can still get, okay, yeah, 2 Yans. Oh, so you got another one. Was the 15K the first one, or was the 12K the first one? I can't remember. But anyway, these Yan inverters, massive. I don't remember how much they weigh. How much do they weigh? I can't remember. I was kind of talking about it. I was talking to a customer earlier today, and I might. I was actually telling him about your inverter that you had, your Yan, and I don't know, David. I'm not really quite sure what your. Whoops, I'm getting out of focus here. I'm not sure what your question is. If you're putting your question towards me or for Sean Buckner, I'm not really sure. 15 kilo. Okay, so cool. 200 pounds. I've seen pictures of it, and it's just this massive thing. Awesome inverter, from what I hear. I don't have one myself, so I can't say for sure. But Sean's got so many batteries that I'm sure that he could run it right up to that limit and tell you guys how long, if it will handle that, whatever. He's got a huge battery bank. And he's the one who's going to be building me my battery bank, and I'm going to hold him to the price that he told me for the next 15 years. Guarantee you. So, yeah, so he's going to be building me a battery bank. And that's another thing. Hey, if you guys are interested, Sean, if you're still doing that for everybody, he builds battery banks as well. So, and the service, it's just based on the pictures, builds the battery banks. Doesn't just order a bunch of batteries, ship them to you. Actually builds these things on racks, the cables, everything. The whole thing. Literally, he's going to be coming to my house. He's going to be spending the night. I'm going to put him in the basement. No, actually, because the basement is going to be mine. I'll put him outside in the shed. He can sleep out there. And he's going to install my battery bank. So, yeah. So cool. He builds battery banks, which I think is awesome. It's a good venture. I'm glad that he's doing that because it's a good service. If he still does it, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a little while here. Okay, maybe that was you that messaged me. The hacks on those inverters, I don't know. Are you referring to the Yan inverters? That's true. You're right. There are some specifics, some details that I just have not really gotten into when it comes to inverters, power factor being one of those. I understand. It's probably something I need to be a little bit more transparent of, um, because we typically just speak in watts or amps, total amps, watts, time, things like that. So yes, you're right. Definitely need to make some adjustments there. My voice is starting to dry out, I think. Yeah, Sean, do you have a YouTube channel? I think you do. Maybe. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Do you? No, he doesn't. He should. If you're going to be the Make Sky Blue guy here in the US or North America, better get yourself a YouTube channel. You're going to need one. But I actually want to see your setup again. I know you've probably updated it. I want to see that inverter running. I want to see it running like 10,000 watts, 15,000 watts. I want you to see that thing running. Um, that's my geekiness. I want to see that Yayan inverter push to its limits. Yeah, there you go. You're getting a fan base already. Get yourself a YouTube channel or get some videos on your website. You have a website, so get some videos of your system on the website. Real, good videos all the way through, showcasing all your 25 charge controllers you got on your wall, your 85 million batteries, your 75 billion solar panels, all that stuff. I want to see all of that. Now, Sean, you were telling me about someone else that you built a system for, somebody you're related to, father-in-law, maybe. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since we've talked. But you built a huge solar system for them. And you were telling me you were generating a kilowatt per minute off this system, 1 kilowatt per minute, 60 kilowatts an hour. That's crazy. That's crazy. They were grid tied. Your brother, okay. They were grid tied, so 60 kilowatts an hour. Whew, that's crazy. I can't imagine 60 kilowatts an hour. That's crazy. Arizona off the grid property. David, if you, I don't know how much of a private guy you are, but 82 kilowatts an hour. Holy mother. Let's see. If you make 10 cents a kilowatt hour, 82, that's $8.20 an hour during the day, of course. But it could be, if you're in a sunny area, it could be $100 a day. I guess, maybe. It's too late to be doing math right now. But, so that's pretty cool. But, yeah, who was I talking to? I'm sorry. I'm getting this is fun for me. David, if you're not too private about your property, I would love to be able to see it. 40 acres, plenty of room for panels. I'm jealous. You've got 40 acres. We're actually tomorrow, today's Friday? Yeah, tomorrow, Danielle and I are actually going up north to look at some properties, about 40 acres apiece. If you follow her channel at all, you'll know that we looked at a piece of property southwest? Yeah, southwest of us. Is about an hour from me. And I love the property, but we had to be real about it. There were some cleanup issues that we had to go through, and we just decided that it wasn't in our best interest now. That doesn't mean we've given up or anything else like that, but I'm so excited. I don't think I show her how excited I am about all this. This is a dream of mine. This is a literal lifelong dream. A dream. And, growing up and going to school, where I lived in a really nice neighborhood until I was about 7. And it was a upscale neighborhood. My dad worked at General Motors, and he, my mom didn't work because she didn't need to. He made really good money at General Motors. This was back in the, he hired in in 78 at the Oldsmobile plant in Lansing. I don't remember if that was plant 2, 5, something like that. I don't remember. But Oldsmobile. That's where he hired in. Walked in right off the street, right out of high school. Literally, right out of high school. Walked in off the street. Are you hiring? Yes. You got the job. It was literally that easy. Of course, I wasn't alive then, but I'm just going to take his word for it. My mom would tell me stories about it too. And so um, the the thing is we lived in a really nice neighborhood. Had the house built. My first house that I lived in, I was just a baby, all the way up till I was about 7. They had that house built. Really nice house. And it was nice to have neighbors that were, I guess we were considered to be in the upper scale or the upper income area of Holt at the time. Of course, they've added new houses. There's new, more expensive neighborhoods and things like that. Holt expanded quite a bit. I know you guys are not familiar with that area. It's a suburb of Lansing, but at the time the house was built, it was in the upper scale, in the upper area. So it was what I was used to. Everybody had new cars, and the typical Saturday, everybody goes out and they're running lawnmowers, and they renew every 2, and all this other stuff. And then we moved out to the country. My dad decided that he wanted to be a cop. He The story with that, and I don't mind sharing with you guys because it's an interesting story, at least to me. The story, and I know this doesn't have anything to do with inverters or whatever, but I'm just chatting with you guys. If you get bored, you can head on out. Um, my dad decided that, and I was in the truck when it happened. We were coming from somewhere. I don't remember exactly where, but I still remember the road. I still remember it was late at night, and it was Holt Road. And my dad was doing about 70 miles an hour in a 55 down Holt Road. We were in a hurry to get somewhere, and I don't remember where. And we passed an Ingham County Sheriff's deputy. And, excuse me, I don't think they were running radar, but the thing is that as a cop, you didn't have to have radar to tell when somebody was speeding. And we passed the sheriff's deputy. He turned around because you know when you've passed a cop and you're gonna get pulled over because they turn around. If they're sitting, you know it when they start to pull out. If you pass them, you know it when they do the UE and they come back at you. And then your bowel's empty. It doesn't matter if you've got a perfect clean record, your bowel's empty. You get all sweaty and stuff like that, and just because you don't like getting pulled over, I get it. I mean, if you're a real criminal, you got something to hide. Well, it's probably going to be way worse. But anyway, so of course we get pulled over. The cop came to the window. There was 2 cops because it was a Friday night or a Saturday night or something like that. And back then they would pair up on Friday nights and Saturday nights because of bars and things like that. So 2 cops, one came to the passenger side of the truck, the one came to the driver's side of the truck, asked my dad for his information. Very courteous, very cordial, never could complain about that, wasn't mistreated or anything else like that. Extremely courteous. And everything was fine. He was going to get a warning, which I thought was pretty cool. Not at the time. Looking back, I thought that was pretty cool. Because I didn't really understand. I was probably about 6 or 7 years old. So he was going to let him off with a warning because he came back after radioing in the information. And he said, all right, Mark, I'm going to let you go with a warning this time. You need to watch your speed. Well, then, just as they're getting ready to walk away, and I know you guys are talking about other stuff. That's cool. Keep talking. But just as they were getting ready to walk away, he looked down. The guy at the passenger window looked down and saw that I was not wearing my lap belt. And that was legitimately my fault because I had this habit of undoing my lap belt. And I don't know why. At the time, I just felt uncomfortable because it was in my lap. So I was pushing on my bladder. Maybe I had to go to the bathroom. I don't know. But I always had a habit of unbuckling it. And I would, while I was undoing it, make some noises. It's funny looking back at it today, but back then it obviously was not funny at all. So the officer on the passenger side said, because my dad had both windows down, he said, "Sir, do you realize that your son does not have his seatbelt on?" And he looked at it in a doom and gloom way, like kind of a one of those things. And this was in the '80s, so seatbelts weren't really. It wasn't a big deal. You could ride in the back of a pickup truck. I mean, I did that all the time in my dad's pickup truck and never died. And seatbelts were just kind of, you know, yes, you had to wear your seatbelt, but a lot of times you could get away with not wearing it. And some cars, even in the '80s, didn't even have shoulder over, so people didn't put those seatbelts on. I know that my cousin had a Geo Metro that had one of those shoulder belts that would automatically go back to put the shoulder belt over. But anyway, so there was a big push there in the '80s to get everybody to put on their seatbelt. Um, but it still wasn't something that you get pulled over for not having a seatbelt on or whatever. They would just say, "Hey, you need to wear your seatbelt." Um, so when he saw that, some fuse must have blown in that cop's head. My dad didn't get pulled out or anything else like that, but he's like, I have a cousin or someone who died because they went through the windshield. Do you realize? And he starts lecturing my dad um, about this. And anyway, he says, "You're not free to go. I'm going to be right back." And of course, my dad knew, and he starts cussing. And he starts cussing at me, of course, because I'm the problem. So he wrote my dad a ticket for me not wearing my seatbelt. And at that moment, my dad said, in not so many colorful words, I guess, or there was a lot more involved than just, he said, "I'm tired of this crap. I am going to be a cop." Which, to be honest, he wanted to be a cop when he got out of high school, but the GM job kind of fell into his lap, so he just kind of put it to the side. But from then on, he's like, "I'm going to be a cop." And he was in his late 20s at this time. So, real late to go into the academy, really considering that most kids would either right out of high school go to the academy or would get, a criminal justice degree, then go into the academy, or be in the military, then go to the academy, whatever. My dad was older. He was the oldest in his class. And so I think he was 29 or 30, somewhere around that area. So, and he was kind of overweight. And so he had a lot of work that he had to do, but he did. So he took the buyout at General Motors, and he became a cop about a year later. He was okay with it, but the money it was like half becoming a cop versus GM. So we had to make some cuts, and we moved from that neighborhood, that really nice neighborhood, to out in the country. That's where I'm going with the story. We move out to the country, and behind us is 100 acres of field that wasn't being used. 100 acres. There was a storage shed about halfway down the property line, and my sister and I would get in trouble so many times going to this shed that was empty. It was just a shed. And we had some friends over, some of our friends at one time, and one of them threw a rock at the window and broke it. Oh man, I hope the guy that owns the property isn't watching this. Because a couple of days later, the owner actually came to the backyard on a weekend when my dad was doing some yard work or something. And he said, "You know of anybody who happened to break the window on that shed back there?" Of course, my dad denied everything, even though he knew exactly what happened. My little baby kitty she's not a baby anymore, but she's tiny. My little girl, much more timid than my black cat, but she's here. So, living out in the country at that point, we only lived there for about 2 years because my parents couldn't even afford it out there. But ever since I moved out to the country, then I absolutely wanted. So, since about 9 or 10 years old, I absolutely wanted my own property. There was nobody behind us for 100 acres. There was nobody to the right of us for about 20 acres or so. And it was just awesome. It was just awesome. There was some flooding problems in the road in that area. The field to the west of us was susceptible to flooding, and it would flood over the road. My parents had an '87 IROC Z Camaro, and my mom went through the water with the IROC and cracked the block. And my dad was so mad. It's like, you should have went around. It wasn't really that much to go around, to go to the next street, go around, and come back around. But sadly, we had to get rid of that car. But yeah, she cracked the block. So somebody ended up buying it for a couple $100, which is a shame because it only had, like 30 or 40,000 miles on it, I think. But um, yeah. So, anyways, you probably hear the little girl's bell. She's very timid. She's a much more timid cat. Anyway, so that's what makes whatever my desire to be on property, on my own land, and everything else. So it's within reach, finally. The hard work that I'm putting into this business, I do work really hard and building this business up. And, Danielle works very hard at her job. She's got a nice job. And we already have the house that we want to build picked out. We know about how much it's going to cost to build it. And we're just looking for the land right now. We don't know what order everything's going to happen in, but we know where we're going. But anyway, that's why I want to be off the grid. And here comes Junior again. That's why I want to be off the grid and have my own homestead, grow my own food, livestock, horses, cows, chickens, the whole 9 yards. If I knew the max, can you tell me what inverter? Yes, actually, and even Sean Buckner, he's really skilled in that kind of stuff too, as far as what you're going to need. Obviously, he doesn't use power jack inverters, so his opinion would differ as far as brand goes, but as far as what your needs are, he'd be able to help you as well. But yeah, you can just send me a text, 833 Genetry. There's another shameless plug for that. You can send me a text to that number and I can help you out. Just let me know, um, just let me know, the conversation. Um, 1,500 kilowatt hours. I don't know, Sean, what do you think? 1,500 watt kilowatt for 1,500 watt or 1,500 kilowatt hours. This poor thing. I never give him any attention. I don't know if you guys can tell. I guess I lost the conversation. You guys are 4.0 transformers parallel together. Well, see, I talked about this before. The transformer parallel idea. Um, that's something that I know some people have done, um, and I think it's a good idea because, as I said before, those main boards are not the bottleneck in the power jack inverters. They're just not. It's the transformer that's the bottleneck. Um, so if you add two transformers, or if you add a transformer in parallel, and they're equal, that is equal output, or damn close to being equal, then you should be able to double your effective output. You're going to double your heat. That is if you're running them all out, but you're going to have half the stress if it's going to be the same load. Um, I'm not quite sure who's answering who here. A lot of the people who do these live streams, to be honest, they use their computers with webcams and headsets and things like that. Maybe I'll do that in the future. That way it's easier to see the chat as it's going along. Right now, the stuff just kind of pops up for like 5 seconds and disappears. So it's every time I turn my head away or something, I probably miss something. Um, oh, both of my cats are in here now. I don't know if you can see the little girl. Oh, she's down there. She's a little baby. Danielle gave her to me. I got her when she was just a baby, and she's about half the size. She's about, there she goes. Yep. This little paper that ruffled was enough to scare her away. She's very timid, but she's about half the size of Junior, the one that was just on my lap. Oops, sorry. I'm having fun in this chat, by the way. I'll have to do this more often. We're at an hour and a half now. Danielle's probably, if she's not watching, probably getting upset because I haven't messaged her in a while. She's probably wondering where I'm at, or I'm ignoring her, but I'm online here. But I can't see my Facebook. I'm sorry. I'm trying to see. Just looking at my notifications. So, anyways, I really enjoy this. Seriously, I don't know everything, and I don't claim to know everything. And I like to share the information I have. I like to learn more, and it feels like a real community here. It's a small community, yeah, but it feels like a real community here to be able to watch you guys, talk about all this stuff, renewable and off the grid related. So, um, yeah, I'm having fun. My voice is getting all dried up though. Um, stay there for a second. I'm just gonna get a drink. I know Danielle won't approve of the drink that I'm gonna be getting. It's not alcohol. It is not alcohol. I don't know how well you guys can hear me. Not alcohol. But I think I'm going to be up for a little while longer. So I need something. And an energy drink, I guess, with all this sugar is the way to go. Pipeline punch. Anyway. Oh, that's a lot better. So yeah. Having a lot of fun. I'm glad Sean got in this channel, this discussion, to help me out with some of this stuff. Yeah, so again, send me your videos. Even if you don't want the world to see, that's fine. Just make it unlisted. I don't care about the quality. Make it unlisted. Most people have cell phones that record video. So make it unlisted and then send it to me. Send me a link. Sean Buckner will be the better one to answer your question on that one because he's dealing a lot more with batteries. So he'd be able to answer that question for you to give you the exact need. For me, like I said before, it's running 4 loads of laundry a day was my absolute minimum, but I needed buffer there as well. So you're talking about almost 20 kilowatts consumed per day just running the dryer, and that doesn't include lights, stove, if we had electric stove, air conditioning, central air. That included none of that stuff. That's just the dryer. So I had to build a system with him based on the dryer. I know it sounds funny, but Danielle refuses, and I mean refuses. It is one of those things that is a make or break with her, and I'm okay with it. I won't be doing laundry in the dryer, but she will. I like to hang my clothes on lines, but so I had to build a system based on that. Sean will be able to help you with that more than I would be able to. He's definitely more knowledgeable in that particular area as far as what you're going to need. But I need to make sure that even if I have 3 days of cloudiness, I can still run those 4 loads of laundry a day. And if not, I need to figure something out. I would like to add wind. I've talked about that before. Right now, these Make Sky Blue controllers don't support wind power. I don't know if they will in the future. I have to ask Sean about that. If that's something that they're planning on doing, is making a wind charge controller that could be compatible, maybe, or a solar wind, or that would still be able to work with the solar charge controllers. I'm not really sure. I would like to have a dedicated wind controller that wouldn't interfere with any of the solar charge controllers, that would be able to charge the batteries and then divert when the batteries are full. Say you got full on sun and I'm not running a load of laundry. That would be nice. I'm not sure what's in the pipeline. I'll have to ask Sean about that if he's still online. I know where to get. Yeah, this interface is not good on the live. It's great for being mobile, but I need to get a dedicated camera for this. You know how to get lithium ion batteries for $100 per kilowatt hour? Where? You have to send me that link. Or just send me a text message, 833 Genetry. After hours, by the way, like it's after 5 o'clock, I won't even get a notification. I won't get a notification until I open tomorrow morning. Actually, today is Friday. That means tomorrow is Saturday, which means I won't hear from any of you until Monday at 9 a.m. I know I sound happy about it, but trust me, having real hours is awesome because I'm able to separate my business from my personal life more easily, because there was times when I would get calls at 2 in the morning my time when it would be, California time or something like that, and I'd have to put my phone on vibrate, or manually go in and turn off notifications, things like that. It was really annoying, but now it's all automatic. So and you can leave a voicemail and you get this nice beautiful elevator music when you're on hold, and use extensions, and I'm all excited because I've got a business phone number now. You can probably hear my cats going crazy over there. The reason is probably because it is getting late for them. Yes, 8 o'clock, so it's late for them. My phone's going to die here pretty soon, so I won't be able to go too much longer. Yeah, I don't have any more charge left on my power pack. So I won't be able to go too much longer on this live stream, but you have Sean's information, Sean Buckner, for Make Sky Blue. He can build you systems, battery banks, etc., etc. He's the expert there. I always, you know, appreciate everybody, getting together and being able to share information, share experiences, all that other stuff. So what works for me may not work for you. It may not work for him. It may not work for someone else. That's the whole point. We're kind of all in this together. And of course, I'm always going to fully support power jack inverters as long as I work with them. Even if I don't work with them, I supported them long before I started working for them. Low frequency is the better way to go. This is a low frequency inverter back here. You can see the big round toroidal transformer. High frequency inverters, not all of them, but typically high frequency inverters, they're going to be cheaper, and they're not going to have the starting capabilities that a low frequency inverter has. And you don't hear about low frequency, high frequency too often with inverters. Power jack really dominates that marketing. There's no doubt about that. And I know if you've ever been to a eBay listing for a power jack inverter, you really got to read through it. And so, yep, good point. Better for surge. I honestly, when I bought that 8,000 watt inverter a while back before I got the sample unit from PowerJack for the 15K, it was a 12 volt, 8,000 watt unit. A single AS3 transformer, was split phase, and it would not start my big 14,000 BTU air conditioner, my window air conditioner. I had the batteries to do it, but the serious limitation was, number one, it was 12 volts DC. and that's when you're trying to start something like that, it's doesn't matter how many batteries you have. It's going to be hard. There's a lot of amps trying to flow through there, and so the surge just wasn't there. Now I added a run start capacitor to that air conditioner, and it started after that. It was starting just fine. But ideally, I have never had a problem with my big 15K inverter starting that air conditioner. As I wouldn't expect to have a problem, but I don't even notice it. Sometimes when um, there's a cloud or something else like that, and battery voltage comes down a little bit, and it starts. There might be a little bit of a dim of the lights, maybe, but it's not so severe. I don't hear the inverter struggling. None of that. It's got more than enough juice to start that air conditioner, as well as the central air too. I don't like running my central air. I don't run it unless I absolutely have to. But on some of those really hot days, sometimes I'll run it, and it does just fine starting the central air. I've got a 1.5 ton unit sitting outside, as well as the furnace that comes on, well, the blower and the furnace. It's able to start that central air system just fine. Um, no problems there. Then it consumes about 44 to 4,600 watts, about that. So not too bad. I've run the dryer. Yes, I've had to run the dryer. Running the clothes dryer, I've had to do that. I run laundry on it. It does just fine. Um, and so I've done stuff, and it works just fine. That 10 kilowatt, or excuse me, 15 kilowatt unit, it does great for me, but it may not do great for you. If you're trying to run two dryers, a central air, and your neighbor's weed growing operation all at the same time, well then yeah, probably not going to be working for you. Whereas a Yayan inverter, the 15 kilowatt unit, would probably be able to do it. Um, but I'm still curious, Sean, and the pressure is on now. I know you're watching this. I want to see, and so does everyone else, I want to see that 15 kilowatt inverter run all out. I want to see how well it does. If you're afraid that it's going to burn out, then don't do it because it was expensive. And I want to see how good it is. And then I'll share that information with everyone else because I don't have one here to be able to test to say. Um, how good or how bad, but I've heard good things about the Yayan inverters, the big 15Ks, that they can do 15 kilowatts. So I want to see it. I want to see how well it works. There's not very many people who have Yayan inverters. More have AIMs. I know they're basically the same, but I've only seen one, I think 10,000 watt AIMS inverter before. Um, and other than that, I don't have much exposure to the AIMS inverters or Yayan. But yeah, so there's the pressure. It's on you. I want to see. I want to see a load test of that 15 kilowatt Yayan inverter. I want to see it. Of course, if he puts something up on his website, which will be awesome, but I think he might isolate it to just make sky blue. I don't know. I don't even know if he's online anymore. I can't really tell. But anyway, my battery just hit 15%. So unfortunately, we're coming to a close here on this live stream, almost 2 hours long. Thank you all who have dropped in or stayed during this entire live stream. It was a lot of fun. Um, this is awesome. I'm enjoying this a lot. I'm gonna make this a thing that yeah. I also have to make Danielle a moderator too. But yeah, I'll have to do that, and then we. I don't even know where I'm going. I guess I'm getting kind of tired, but I still have some work I have to do. I got a warranty repair that I gotta finish up here, so I can get it sent out on Monday morning. But my weekend is starting, or has started. Started at 5 o'clock. Gonna be looking at some land tomorrow. Gonna be spending the day with Danielle, spending the night with her. So I'm gonna be gone all day tomorrow. It's gonna be fun, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun this weekend. And then, of course, we've got Halloween coming up next week. Excited about that. Halloween is my favorite time of year. Honestly, it is. On November 1st, I consider. Bleh, don't like it. Fall has always been my favorite time of year. And that's probably Daniel now messaging me, telling me to get off the phone so I can talk to her. So, anyway, yeah, hacking inverters. Well, if you're talking, which Sean are you talking to? You talking to me or him? As far as me, yes. I got a lot of projects. I got that 3,000 watt unit sitting on top of those 4 batteries right now that I've been testing and messing with. And I'm going to go back to that 1,500 watt. Actually, I don't need to because I have a main board for 1,500 watts sitting there, so I'm going to test that. Yes, more videos to come, more stuff, everything else, and I'll make the live stream as long as I'm available. I'll try to make it the same day every week, and we'll have some fun, and we'll chit chat and go from there. Of course, as my usual closing statement, if you have any questions, let me know. Now that I've got the business phone set up, I've been able to answer everyone's questions today, which has been great. Nobody's fallen through the cracks, and it's been awesome. I've got customer database set up and all this stuff. It's great. I'm so looking forward to it. Charge test. I know some people ask me for a charge test. I do have to do a charge test. I know it's on the list. Trust me, it's on the list. I'm sorry. I'm trying to. Oh, that was weird. Anyway, I'm trying to get everything done on the list that I can get done. There's a lot of things to do. So, again, genetrysolar.com, 833 Genetry. You can text me or call me there during business hours. I'll respond to you next business day if it's outside of business hours. Of course, you guys know that I build inverters to power jack specifications with enhanced cooling, and soon they will be reprogrammed. Ooh, big deal. And then we've got the new LCD screens that are coming out too. We got a lot of stuff planned, a lot of fun stuff, lots of improvements. If you have a 15,000 watt inverter already, a 10,000 watt, an 8,000 watt, a 5,000, a 4,000, as long as it has an LCD screen, you'll be able to add this. And trust me when I say that it's going to better manage your inverter. Trust me. Um, yeah, so I'll put that in the video description after the live stream ends. My phone is at 10% now. It's going to die here pretty soon. So I will let you guys go. I appreciate everybody who came to the live stream, the live chat, contributed, or just watched. Even if you just watched, awesome. Thank you. Working towards being off the grid and energy independent. That's, no matter how big or how small, it's all important. It's fun. I enjoy it. And I really want to get some more information on amateur radios, ham radios, and stuff because I enjoy listening. It's late at night now on a Friday night, so I'm going to be hopping on 80 meters and I'm going to be listening. And how many pounds is your transformer in your big inverter? If you're talking to me, it's I think it's about 80 pounds, 75, 80 pounds for the big transformer. I think that's its raw weight. Um, Actually, it's closer to 90 pounds. I'm sorry. AS, ugh, my brain hurts. It's late. Still got a little bit more work to do. But anyway, yeah, it's closer to 90 pounds for the AS9 transformer. So, yeah, this new AS10 that's coming up, it's going to be like 125 or 130 pound transformer. So, cool. All right, guys and gals. I always say guys. I'm sorry. I know that offends somebody. It's just a thing that I've said ever since I was a kid. Hey, guys, how's it going? Hey, whatever. I know it doesn't mean just guys only. I'm going to feed the cats because they are staring me down with a death stare because I haven't fed them yet tonight. And around 8 o'clock is the time that they get fed. 4 times a day, right? Right, Junior? Yeah. Yep. All right. So, again, thank you for coming out, contributing. Sean Buckner can help you out with your controllers, battery banks, and stuff like that. If you need inverters built to your specifications, your needs, that is, get a hold of me. I build them for everybody. Thank you for all your support. Those of you who have either bought parts or inverters from me, thank you for everything. I appreciate all your help, your support. And if you have any questions, let me know. Have a good weekend. Have a good night. And take care.